Welcome to the Expert Edge. This is the show where we bring on experts in their fields of health and wellness practice and hear their stories and learn what they see working in the field of diabetes reversal and prevention. So I'm happy to introduce today's expert, Dr. Manu Gill. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Lucia. It's always nice working with you.
Like his full name is really Dr. Mandeep Singh Gill, but everybody calls him Manu Gill. So we're just really glad to have you here with us. And he's a dedicated professional with a passion for health and science. He began his educational journey in Toronto, specializing in human biology at the University of Toronto, and then decided to take pre-med. So he went to Aruba, enjoyed some of that island life while he got his pre-med requirements taken care of, and ended up completing his medical education in the United States. He graduated from medicine in 2019, and during the pandemic, he served as a COVID-19 case manager for the Ontario Ministry of Health and later for the City of Hamilton Public Health Services. So by now, you've guessed he is living in Canada. Currently, Dr. Gill serves as a lifestyle health coach, focusing on helping individuals overcome life challenges and achieve optimal health and fulfillment. He likes to use reverse inner engineering and practical tips to coach clients through physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional struggles. So he's really into whole person care, which I love. He's committed to education and empowerment, and he's looking to foster disease prevention and enhance interpersonal and intrapersonal relationships. So this isn't just about some one part of your body. This is about us as whole humans. And I really love that. So tell us a little bit about how you got started with your interest in health and lifestyle and biology.
Yeah, definitely. So growing up in a South Asian household, my cultural background, I'm Punjabi, which is a region in northern India. So I grew up in an immigrant household. Both of my parents immigrated to Canada in the 1970s. And growing up in such a household, you ultimately have four life paths that you can choose from. The first is either you become a doctor, the second a lawyer, the third an engineer, or the fourth a failure. So for me, my parents heavily wanted my older brother and I to pursue medicine because in the South Asian community, those professions are seen as really high level professions. And, you'll be able to provide a living, you'll be able to earn an income. And we all need an income to survive, to buy homes, to pay our mortgage, and do all these certain things. So that's one of the main reasons why I pursued medicine. But I realized as a child, I genuinely enjoyed helping people. I didn't know at the time what that meant, but I knew I enjoyed helping people. And, throughout my elementary school and high school education in Toronto, science was one of my favorite subjects. I enjoyed learning what science was. I enjoyed learning biology, chemistry. I wasn't very good at it at the time, but I did enjoy learning about it and just seeing, what kind of knowledge I could gain. And then it was through my studies at University of Toronto where that's when I actually became really interested in human biology and learning how the human body, works as a whole unit and how we can essentially live in a way that is sustainable to whatever we desire. And it was during this time my parents found out about medical school options that are not in domestic Canada or the USA. So they ultimately wanted me and my older brother to go to Aruba, where the Caribbean has a bunch of American schools that are based out in the Caribbean. And once you graduate from these schools, you become an IMG or an international medical graduate. So I did all my medical schooling on the sunny island of Aruba. And as Lucia said earlier, it was awesome living on an island. I didn't know if I was there for vacation half the time, if I was there for school. So, and I was young at the time. I was 19 when I went to the island. So for me, it was great having that education, that different environment, being away from home, which is Toronto. And then later I would go to the US to finish my clerkships, living in cities like New York, Chicago, Atlanta, completing all the US board exams, which are called the United States Medical Licensing Exam, USMLE. There's 3 steps, 1, 2, and 3, completed all of them. And I even wrote all the Canadian medical board exams. And it was during that time, well, we were facing the pandemic, COVID-19, and I realized, do I actually want to work as a doctor for the rest of my life? Do I actually want to be in a clinic or a hospital where during the pandemic, it was scary. It was scary seeing all these healthcare professionals lose their lives to this virus, and then having to go home and not being even able to stay in their own home because there's a fear that they're going to affect their family members. And this was very concerning to me because human history often repeats itself. And I'm hoping there is no more pandemic in the near future, but we don't know. Life is uncertain. So I decided, I know that I want to help people. But that's when I really defined, what does it mean to help people? What does helping people really mean to me? Does
Mm,
it mean I need to be an MD working in a hospital or a clinic, prescribing medication, running lab work, doing surgeries? Or does helping people to me really just mean I get them to live their best lives,
mm,
becoming the healthiest versions of themselves? And I realized I don't need to be a doctor to do that. So
mm,
by title, I am a doctor. I'm a medical doctor. I don't practice. I did not complete a residency training because personally, I applied to residency in the US 4 times and 1 time in Canada. And if you guys don't know what residency is like, it's like the NBA or NFL draft. You apply once a year, except for residency, you're paying tens of thousands of dollars for a chance to get an interview. And then once you get an interview, your fate is decided by a computer algorithm, which in my head during the pandemic makes absolutely no sense. I have no autonomy over my own future. I have no control as to whether I will receive an income. And I'm getting older. I want to get married. I want to have kids. I can't keep relying on the medical system to provide me an income when
mm,
I know in the real world, people that can make an income, you can make it today. And that's why I started my own business, because I decided I don't want to rely on a system that is against me. And I truly want to be able to help my clients with their health without having to seek the approval of a higher up to help them.
mm, mm,
That's what really ultimately led me as to become I market myself as a lifestyle health coach because I teach the clients and the audience members I work with how to incorporate a lifestyle that will allow them to become the healthiest versions of themselves. And it will be something that they can stay consistent with, enjoy, and it's personalized for them to reverse their metabolic disease, potentially their autoimmune disease, and even mild forms of cancer, because all three of these categories, 70 to 75% of all autoimmune illnesses and cancers, are all caused by modifiable risk factors.
mm,
And
mhm.
if you know that, knowledge is power. And
Yeah.
if you know that, then you can stay healthy for the rest of your life and you can be a kick-ass 120-year-old if that's something you want to do. So for me, that's something I want to do. I want to be 150 years old and be able to walk, run, lift weights, and do all these things. And if I can do that for myself, I know I can teach others to do the same thing.
That's so interesting, the path that brought you to where you are today. And I love the heart that you have for helping people and helping them live their best lives. That's such an awesome goal. And as you talked about this, you've been like kind of shifted into this realm of what's called lifestyle medicine, but that's a broad term. What does it mean to you, and why do you think it's so important to overall well-being?
Yeah, definitely. I love this question because, when we talk about lifestyle, Lucia, like everyone has a life. We all know that. Everyone has a different way of living. For example, I know you are on the western side of the world. You live in California. I believe you said it was a blue zone, correct?
Where I was born was a blue zone in Southern California. Yeah, you got the right state.
Yeah, and I live in Ontario, Canada. So when we talk about lifestyle, I'm sure most of your viewers know what seasonal affective disorder is or seasonal affective depression. So people who live on the northern hemisphere of the world are more prone to develop depression because there's no sun outside. And
Mm,
people who live in sunny areas, well, if you've been on vacation in the Caribbean, like I lived in the Caribbean, people are happy all year round, and there's a reason for that. They have the sun. So when we talk about lifestyle, it's really finding out what individual problems people are facing and then coming to a solution for that particular person.
Mhm.
For example, I know your viewers are, extremely smart because they have you teaching them. So I know, a lot of people know about the benefits of probiotic foods, certain probiotic and prebiotic foods that are fermented. So let's talk about kimchi, sauerkraut, miso, tempeh, kombucha, the list goes on. So with this lifestyle approach, let's say, for example, I'm coaching Lucia, and Lucia tells me she does not like the taste of sauerkraut, kimchi, or, whatever. At least I can give her alternative options of those same types of food that will give her that benefit that she enjoys eating. And if Lucia tells me she doesn't like deadlifting or doing heavy squats, then I'll be like, that's fine. You can do a weightlifting exercise that you enjoy doing, working out the same body parts. So
Mhm.
it's really figuring out what people enjoy doing and what they don't enjoy doing, but making sure they still get that same added benefit, right?
Mhm.
So to me, lifestyle means figuring out how we can support someone with their physical health, their emotional health, their mental health, and even their spiritual health. And of course, with all four of these parameters, it's difficult to get that support from a traditional Western doctor. They are
Mhm.
not trained. I was not trained to develop all those attributes to help people develop those skills. All I was trained to do as a doctor was to figure out what disease a person has and what medication to give them to mitigate those symptoms, but not actually fix the issue.
Yeah.
So for me, lifestyle health means, especially as a lifestyle health coach, I know the human body can heal itself. Now, depending if you have a really aggressive stage 4 cancer, this is an extreme situation, sometimes those things can't be helped. However, for people not suffering with a stage 4 cancer, if you have high blood pressure or even type 2 diabetes, which is caused by you not exercising or you eating the wrong foods, then we can fix those things. But it takes empowerment and education and the accountability to fix those things, which is why lifestyle health incorporates all four of those domains: physical health, emotional health, mental health, spiritual health, and then figuring out how we can build that plan for that person so they can achieve the results they want.
Mm. And I love that it's a whole person approach and you look at these different aspects because as human beings, if we only focus on one of those, often the root cause, what's really pushing us maybe into bad choices, can be coming from another aspect of our life, maybe the emotional aspect or our relationships are going down the tube or whatever. And that ends up affecting our physical health. And if we don't address the cause, then we're just doing a band aid approach and not actually removing the cause of the problem. And I agree that identifying and removing the cause of our health problems is so critical to true healing and
Right.
really, enjoying the health that God designed that we should enjoy, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so it sounds like you've developed a bit of an eclectic approach in helping people where you use your background in conventional medicine and understanding how the body works with alternative therapies, self care techniques, and try to create well rounded health plans for your clients. So, kind of, how do you do this blend?
Yeah, so one of the first things is, whenever I speak to someone who wants to work with me, I want to know what exactly are they looking for and what exactly do they want support with.
Mhm.
So if somebody tells me, hey, I'm suffering with, let's just say, for example, maybe hormonal issues, or they're having difficulty, maybe, having energy levels. Well, the first thing is I'll let people know if I can support them based on what I know and what has worked in the past, either, protocols I've implemented or if I've shared with audience members or clients.
Mhm.
And if I can't support them, then I'll let them know. Unfortunately, look, with this issue, it's out of my realm, but let me see if I can refer you to somebody else who may have that skill set to support you.
Mhm.
So, mainly what I focus on is metabolic health
Mhm.
because in medicine, for those of your viewers who may not know, metabolic disease is called the silent killers. So
Mhm.
these include type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and cholesterol. And I'll even share another caveat. Now there's a type 3 diabetes.
Yes.
It's called Alzheimer's disease, right? So what does that mean? Type 3 diabetes is formed from the same mechanism as type 2 diabetes. So essentially, if you're doing all the right things, you're working with a coach like Lucia or myself who's supporting you with reversing your type 2 diabetes, then theoretically, you're also going to be reversing the onset of Alzheimer's. Now, how incredible is that? Right? And with hypertension and cholesterol, these are all modifiable risk factors.
Yeah.
So someone who may have high blood pressure, they might even be in the triad of having high cholesterol and type 2 diabetes. So we want to focus on what foods are you eating? What are your stress levels? How well do you sleep? Are you getting sunlight? Do you drink water? Do you exercise? Are you a smoker? Are you a drinker? Right? And how much of these substances do you consume? Because drinking alcohol, smoking tobacco can lead to an increased blood pressure. And if you're creating plaque in your arteries, it can also lead to atherosclerosis, which will inevitably lead to some form of high cholesterol. And the thing is, all of these things are modifiable, meaning if you incorporate a routine of exercise, you don't have to go on a special diet. But what I love telling people is to do your best to eat whole, non-processed foods, foods that primarily consist of one ingredient. So this would include vegetables, fruits. If you're non-vegetarian, maybe chicken, maybe steak, maybe some type of fish, right? And you want to incorporate these foods into your diet because it's important that you're getting the right minerals, the right vitamins. Thereby, you won't need to spend extra money on supplements or these other things because if you are doing all the right things for your diet, you're eating all the right foods, I promise you, you will not need to buy supplements and take supplements. However, if you are honest with yourself, like I am, I don't get all the right nutrients I need in a day, right? So I supplement my diet. I try my best to eat a healthy diet, but I also supplement with certain supplements like a probiotic, maybe a magnesium supplement, maybe zinc, vitamin D, vitamin K, because I know for a fact I don't get that in my diet living where I live because the quality of the food isn't as great as it should be. So it really comes down to, are you incorporating the right diet, the right nutrition, and an exercise plan for yourself to make sure you reverse the onset of those symptoms? And also, are you incorporating some type of mindfulness practice, whether it be yoga, tai chi, prayer, journaling? I know a lot of people love grounding, stepping outside barefoot in the sand at a beach or, on the dirt, on the ground, on the grass. These are all great things. Are you having great relationships in your life with yourself, with other people? So once we come to a conclusion where we see what you have and what you're lacking, then we can reverse engineer some of the self-limiting beliefs you have and then get you to a place where you are doing the right steps for yourself so that you can reverse your disease, whether it be hypertension, cholesterol, or type 2 diabetes, obesity, or chronic fatigue, and then get to that ideal stature of health that you truly want.
Mm. Yeah, so I think it's so important, as you mentioned, to like work with people, figure out where they're coming from. What are the things in their environment that might need to be adjusted? Those are all such valuable ways in which you can help support people as they recover health. I would love to hear, do you have a story of somebody that really experienced great transformation as they worked with you, and that helps us to understand how powerful lifestyle medicine really can be?
Yeah, definitely. So this is one of my previous clients, Kathy, and for reference, I forget her age now, but I believe she was close to 80 years old or 81 years old. And it was very difficult for her because she lived on her own. She had her pet dog, so that was her only form of companionship. She unfortunately was on a ventilator, and she wasn't very mobile. She couldn't really walk because of the osteoarthritis in both of her knees. So working with me in just a week, her goal was to feel better. I asked her, what does it mean to feel better for you? She said that she just wants to feel happier. She wants to feel happier about her present circumstance and she wants to sleep better because she had OSA, obstructive sleep apnea. And she also told me that she just wants to have higher energy. So I said, great, let's work for a month and let's see how I can support you. In just a week, mind you, this patient was on a ventilator. In just a week,
But
she
wait a minute. Before you go any further, in the United States, a ventilator is like a machine, and you like usually you're in a sedative and you're laying on a bed and it's breathing for you. Is that what you mean?
she had I don't know the exact term. It might have been a CPAP machine. It was the one where she's actually able to take it with her.
Okay, so
So
but she was on oxygen maybe all
yeah,
the time and had to take it with her. Okay, I just want to
yeah,
make sure. Okay.
definitely. And the trick I got her to do was simply, I'm sure you may have heard of this, but at night I just got her to tape her mouth with medical tape. And in a week, she reported breathing a lot better.
Mm,
And I got her to intentionally breathe in and out of her nose. And
mhm,
it just boggles my mind. You know, a lot of people, especially in the Western world, don't know how to breathe correctly. And one of the first things kids in the Eastern side of the world learn when they become monks is the first thing they learn is to breathe through the nose.
mhm.
And if you can breathe through your nose, in and out intentionally through your nose, you will never have stress because you are intentional, you are present, and you are grounded. But when we breathe through our mouth, now the mechanism of it, when we breathe through our mouth, we don't get the full inhale through our diaphragm. And the most oxygen diffusion occurs in the base of our lungs. And that's only done through a deep inhale through your nose. So when you're getting the maximum amount of oxygen at the base of your lungs, that's when the oxygen actually distributes itself to your brain and other parts of your body. So I
You know,
got her to just,
yeah,
sorry.
that is so amazing and so fundamental. And
Mhm.
you're completely right that very few people talk about how to breathe properly. And I really believe that many, because we know this is really common, especially in Western society, that people like when they sleep or they relax, their mouth falls open and they're mouth breathing. And it actually affects your health when you
Mhm.
mouth breathe chronically. Just like Dr. Gill is saying, it you being able to close the mouth. Like you said, this lady had to tape her mouth when she was sleeping to
Yeah.
keep it shut. But just doing that, so she was forced to breathe through her nose, made a
Mhm.
big difference in how she felt. I love that. That's
Yeah.
so on point with simple
Yeah.
things that have powerful effects.
Yeah, so before I even got her to use a tape on her mouth, I had to ask her like, "Are you a?" Because I know she was on the oxygen, so I had to ask her, "Are you actually able to do that, and it's not going to affect you anyway?" She's like, "Yeah, I think I'll be fine." So I'm like, "Okay, cool. As long as you're fine and safe, I'm happy with you doing that. Let's see how it works." And that was just a week. And then
Mm,
some of the other things I helped her with, she wanted to feel happier. She had a negative mindset in the sense that she felt she was unworthy of feeling loved. She was unworthy of feeling better. So that was me using the leadership training I have. And I've graduated from the Dale Carnegie course, which is a public speaking course. And I also took leadership training with Lucia at Hardcore Business. So I have that training. And I've also done a lot of internal work within myself because
mhm,
I used to be depressed. I used to be anxious. I didn't grow up in a happy household.
mm,
So I did a lot of that work on my own before I could help people. So with working with that client, Kathy, the first thing was getting her to tape her mouth, which improved her quality of sleep, which she wanted. She had higher energy levels, and it was just a simple technique. And then the second thing was me actually talking to her, being an ear and understanding where she's coming from so we can break those self-limiting beliefs. And she wanted to do some form of exercise, but because she had osteoarthritis, I told her, hey, look, as long as you are able to walk around the block or even your home, even for
mm.
20, 30 minutes, even if you're just allowed, if you walk through, by your home with your dog, Bravo, I am happy that you are getting some form of exercise. And mind you, working with certain clients, even though you may want them to exercise intentionally as like maybe a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old, I'm not going to tell her to go do squats or go do heavy deadlifts. I want to make sure she's able to stay consistent with that program I put her on. And for her, it was simple things like just going for a walk with your pet dog, just to get her mind off of things. So it's always coming to what problem or what issue is the client facing or the patient facing, and then how can I provide them the knowledge and empowerment to take small, actionable steps to create momentum to actually make that change in their life? And that was one of my favorite stories of a client I worked with. So I
I love
really hope
that.
that's been valuable.
Yes, I think it really does show the power of simple changes and working with someone that can help, clue you in as to what some of those small steps, simple steps can be so valuable and you can really get a lot of benefit from that.
Mhm.
Now, when people start to like create new habits and they're maybe face obstacles when they're looking at doing some kind of new practice that they're learning through lifestyle medicine, what are some of the most common challenges that you see people running into and how can they overcome them?
Yeah, so some of the most common challenges in no particular order, I think it's a lot to come with diet. I think people think that there's a magical diet that's going to work for everyone on the planet. And the truth is, no diet really works. You need to eat foods that work for you. And if they work for you, they may not work for someone else. And vice versa. Some foods work for some people that may not work for you. So it's really coming to a place of which foods are digestible in your gut and which foods can you, one, afford that are readily available at your local grocery store or farmer's market, whatever it is that you go to. And also, do you have a support system with you?
Mm,
And a lot of people come from broken homes, right? So a lot of people have never had that empowerment in their life. They've never had that empowerment from their family, their parents, their grandparents. So for those people, it can be very tough because all they see is what's not possible for them. So
mm,
we need to break those self-limiting beliefs. And a lot of those self-limiting beliefs come from childhood. So when you're talking with a grown adult, a lot of it is reverse inner engineering, which can be painful for some people because they're like, who the heck is this guy telling me this? Like, you don't know who I am. But it's coming to that position where if you have had trauma happen to you, it's more easier for you to relate to people going through trauma,
mm, mm,
right? And I'm not saying my life was a cakewalk and it wasn't hell either. However, my life was very difficult. And because I've had all those challenges at a younger age, it's so much easier for me as an adult because now I feel like, wow, I'm Superman, even though I'm not Superman, but so I can help these people with their challenges because I've been through similar circumstances. And if I haven't been through similar circumstances, then that's where the power of empathy comes into play.
mm,
I would say one of my superpowers, not to brag or boast, one of my superpowers is I know how to exhibit empathy and I know how to put myself in the position of others. I can instinctively do that. A lot of people struggle with that.
mm,
So, one is what are they eating? Do they have a supportive environment? If they don't have a supportive environment, we need to break self-limiting beliefs.
mhm,
Number three, are they exercising? And remember, exercising doesn't mean that you need to go to your local gym and start deadlifting, squatting, bench pressing. You can do that if that's what you want to do. You want to gain muscle, you want to get powerful, go for it. However, if that's not your goal, then we need to find exercises that are sustainable and fun for you. It could be playing basketball, maybe skipping rope, doing some form of cardiovascular training, like going on a treadmill, maybe dance classes. So we need to figure out what that is. And then
mhm,
the last is food accessible to you? Now, depending on where you live in the world, I live in Toronto, Canada, you need a car to function.
mm,
You need a car because the transit system here, it's all right, but it's very dangerous because there's some people who just unfortunately make it unsafe for others.
mm,
Me personally, I don't like using the transit system in Toronto because it's dangerous. A lot of people are affected each day. So do you have a transportation? Do you have a car to drive you to the grocery store to bring the groceries home? Do you have income coming in so you can buy food? So those are some of the biggest challenges I see, just not having support, not having reliable transportation, not knowing which foods to eat, and certainly not exercising.
mm. Yeah.
But for people who want the free, accessible things, getting sunlight every day, especially if you live in a warmer, tropical, not tropical, but climate place, you can get sunlight every day. And sunlight is so beneficial to us. Depending on where you live, if you have clean running water, you have water to drink.
Mhm,
So it's a lot of things that affect people. And the main thing is we need to figure out as coaches, as healthcare practitioners, what are some solutions that we can give to people today?
mhm.
Give to people today so they can start implementing.
Absolutely.
So those are the challenges. And If anyone listening to this knows people with those challenges, do your best to support them. Maybe give them the empowerment they need. And sometimes the empowerment goes a long way.
Mm-hmm. I think you brought up some really good things to think about because some of those are societal issues or urban planning issues that get in the way of our health. And so figuring out what do we actually have control over, what can we implement versus what are the things that maybe at this point in my time in my life or at this stage I might not have control over, and really focusing on the things we have control over because we all have control over a great deal of our life. I mean, even the homeless person on the street has control over a lot of their own choices. So I totally agree with that. And talking about sharing resources, you have a great resource that you want to share with those that are listening. It's a free gift. It's called the Vitality Checklist. So, what are the benefits they're going to have if they go over and click the link below this video and download the Vitality Checklist?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm giving Lucia a link to my 2024 Vitality Checklist, which is essentially a PDF document where you are going to record things like how many steps are you taking in a day? Are you getting maybe 30 minutes of sunlight? Are you getting exercise? Did you hug your family, your friends? Did you go for a walk? Did you make time to go to the gym? Did you make time to get 7 to 8 hours of restful sleep? So I think it's a whole page that we made as a checklist. It'll tell you the amount of steps that each person should be getting, the amount of time that you should be spending in sunlight, getting amount of sleep. And it's really a way for you to track your own progress for the rest of the year. And you can even use it for 2025 and beyond. But for the rest of this year, I really want everyone to track what's on that PDF and then see if you are doing more or less. If you're doing more than what's required, that's amazing. That's great. I'm happy. If you're doing less than what's required, then that's where you get to have an honest conversation with yourself. And then maybe you need to find an accountability partner. Maybe you need to find a family member or a friend that you can go get steps in with outside going for a walk. Maybe you can find an accountability partner to make sure that you're actually getting 8 hours of sleep, and things like that. So I really hope that all of you go check that link. All you need to do is just sign up with your name and your email, and then you will get the downloadable PDF for free.
Awesome. I just want to say thank you so much for sharing that with our audience. And thank you so much for being here. Just have really enjoyed our conversation. And I know that people have heard some things that they can take away and apply in their lives today. And we want each one of you to be enjoying that best life that you were designed to enjoy. So just remember, health is wealth, and it comes by choice, not by chance. Thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you so much, Lucia. Love this conversation.